Can you hear me? Cool. So I'm Sebastian Witalec. That's how I pronounce my surname. I consider myself a jack of all Angular and a master of robots. And if you're on Twitter, you can follow me. I'm Sebavita. So the thing is, like, I live in London, UK. And in the parks there's loads of squirrels and ducks, and they're all really cute, right? But are they? You see, in the park where I live, the squirrels developed this strange behavior, and they started throwing peanuts at people with allergies. Some of them started bringing bazookas, and it's just all massive havoc. So it's like, okay, we have to do something about it. And the stormtroopers came over to the rescue, and they were trying to subdue the rebellion. But we all seen Star Wars before, and that always fails miserably, right? So I was like, and me being Polish, I never give up, right? It's like, okay, stormtroopers failed, nothing new. Let's call somebody else for help. So the robots answered the call, but there was a problem. They were speaking a very different language to our language, right? They came, say hi in ASCII, and we were like, whatever. So the thing is that all the robots, they speak Bluetooth language, right? And the way Bluetooth actually works is you divide its functionality into a bunch of services. So you have a dashboard service, a weapon service, and drive control service. And each of those services then is divided into a bunch of characteristics. So for dashboard, we would have, for example, a speed indicator and a fuel indicator. For weapons, we have cute ray, laser, and then for drive control, we have steering wheel, accelerator, and brake. So you use those characteristics to either read data or push some instructions, right? So what we're going to look at today is how to do that from web and how to do it from a mobile application. Okay? So let's start from web. If you want to build an Angular application with web, we can use Web Bluetooth, which runs really nicely in Chrome. So you can run it in Chrome on your laptop, but as well on your Android device or iOS. Right? It's pretty cool. And the way you can use it, you have to go through a bunch of steps. So first, it's quite useful if you install Web Bluetooth typings. And then after that, you basically, you have to go through a bunch of steps. So first thing you have to do is request a device and just provide some parameters. So you say, okay, I want to find all the devices which name starts with Mambo, and you provide the UUIDs of the services that you're interested in using, okay? And what this will do is actually will pop up a little window in the browser of the user showing all the devices that you can find in the area. Okay? And when the user accepts it, that's when the promise returns and we get a device. And once we have a device, we can connect to it, then that will give us a server, and then using the server, we can then get all the primary services and the characteristics from those services. And once we have the characteristics, we can start talking to the robot, okay? So if you want to get a value from a robot, let's say you want to check its battery levels, you could just use the battery characteristic, just read value, and then you parse it, and that's how you get a value out of it. If you want to send an instruction into the robot, what you can do is you just construct an int array which contains all the pieces of information that the robot needs, and then you just write characteristic write value, okay? So the first volunteers arrived as we were trying to figure out how to communicate with them using the Web Bluetooth, and we had a bunch of those drones. And the thing is that actually calling those services and characteristics is an easy job. What's difficult is actually knowing what are the characteristic addresses, what are the commands that you can send in, and that's why I created this thing called a Mambo Angular Service. It's an NPM module you can install and inject it into your Angular project. And this will simplify for you to actually use an Angular project with a Mambo drone, okay? So I'm gonna switch on the drone. Come on, buddy. And I'll show you a little bit of code. So let's go to VS Code quickly. So the way you use it, once you installed it, am I in the right project? Yep. So that's webs. So the Mambo service itself has a search function that will perform the search like I was showing you before, but I'm just gonna skip that part and just go straight away to the way you're supposed to use the application. Wrong place. There we go. Cool. So what you have to do is just inject the Mambo service, and then using the Mambo service, you can call search. And if you use async await, there's a wait until the drone is ready for you to kick off. And then using that drone object, then you can call functions like take off or land or set some other instructions into it. So if I show you quickly takeoff, we're literally using the flight command instructions characteristic, and we're passing a value 0, 1, 0. If you want to tell it to land, it's like 0, 3, 0. So how about I show you this in action? So I'm pressing search. See, found my drone. I can press pair, and that should connect to a drone in a moment. There you go. We're ready to fly. And if I press like a takeoff button, it will kind of take off. And as well, I can control it with a keyboard, so I can make him go all around. Anyone brave enough to dare to fight the drone? Go on. Anyone? No? So he's pretty cool. Let's see if I can make him land nicely. Come on, come on, come on, go on, land. There you go. So that's how we play with drones, right? Pretty cool. So, coming back. So if you want to get one of those guys, they're called Parrot Mambo. They're like $100. They're pretty cool. So you can use them to scout on your squirrels in the parks, right? Send them ahead. It's got a camera. It's got a cannon. So you can do a lot of stuff. It is really cool. But what if you want to go beyond Chrome, right? If you don't want to use it in Chrome, like what if you want to use it on your Android device as an application or on iOS? Then what you can do is you can use native script with Angular. And the reason why, as well, you would use is like web Bluetooth is limited only to like one connected device. While if you want to have a whole army of robots, right, you need more than that. So Android and iOS actually allows you to connect to about 10 devices, which it's a bit better to be it's a bit better to actually fight the squirrels. So what's native script? It's basically an open source framework that allows you to build mobile applications with Angular, and you get native UI components out of it. So the UI and the performance that you get is actually like a native iOS and Android application. So there's, again, like few different steps. So the way Bluetooth works is slightly different. So one of the first things you have to do, you have to install native script Bluetooth plugin. And once you have that, we have to first ask the app user to give us a permission to use Bluetooth. So that's why we use request course location permission. And once we've done that, basically we can start using Bluetooth functionality. So if you run Bluetooth start scanning, so that will basically run over a few seconds, and then we have this callback on discovered that will get called every time there's a new device discovered in the area. And that callback gives us this peripheral object, which has a lot of attributes inside, but the UUID and name are the important ones. So name is what you display to the user, so that they can select the one. And when you want to connect to the device, you just use that UUID. And so if you want to connect to the device, you just call Bluetooth connect, pass the device UUID, and then we have two callbacks, one on connected, one on disconnected. So you can control the life cycle of your communication with the device. And then finally, once you've done that, if you want to, let's say, again, get the battery level from the robot, just call Bluetooth read and pass in the device service and characteristic UUIDs. And then this will give us a promise, we can parse it, and then that's how we get the values from the robot. If you want to send an instruction, it's almost the same, except we have to also add the value. So that's like a comma-separated string with hexadecimal values that we pass in, and that's how you send instructions. And then basically just call Bluetooth write without response. And that's pretty much the whole magic. So another robot joined our quest to fight the evil squirrels. That's my friend, he's called Mipush. And then just like we did with the Mambo drone, I'm going to put it a bit behind, I created an NPM package. So again, you can use like a Bluetooth search, and once you connect to the device, you get this MIP device object that allows you to call like move forward, turn left, or say something, right? So what I'm going to do, silence, seriously. What I'm going to do, I'm going to connect to the guy and then show you a little bit how it works. Just need to load the application. Scan, found the robot. And I'm going to jump into the code in a second. So connected. So let's first start with Mipush. Say hi. See, he's a gentleman, right? And as well, like I can use accelerometer to make him like go around. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but I can control him by just moving my hand, which is pretty cool. So like, if you don't want to get close to the squirrels, like he's happy to go on a suicide mission for you. Why not, right? All he needs is like a fresh bag of batteries once a week, and then everybody's happy. So, not yet. So basically, I'll just show you the project very quickly if you want to use it again. So in VS Code, it's a very, very similar kind of construct. So we have this Bluetooth scanner. If you call scan function, that's basically will go find all the devices, check if, and it will check whether they're MIPS, so only give you the ones that you're interested. And the way you would use it, and just like I was showing you with the accelerometer before, what we basically need to do is when we start the accelerometer, every time I change the position of my phone, we will get different X and Y. And then I can use the X for the turn speed and the Y for the speed for the direction. And that's how I was able to communicate. And pretty much then I was just running a loop. So every 50 milliseconds, I was sending a command to the robot to tell him where he's supposed to go. And that's pretty much the whole magic. So, coming back. So the thing is, like I mentioned before, sending the Bluetooth commands is the easy part, right? What's difficult is knowing what commands to send, what services to send. And the drone itself, he's got this little cannon. I'll show you. So we've got like a little cannon. And if I fly him around, like I can shoot like little bullets, right? How do you fight squirrels? You have to shoot them, right? So, but I couldn't find anywhere in documentation how to actually use the cannon, right? So what you can do is, if you have an Android device, you can go to Android developer options, enable Bluetooth HCI snoop log, and then if you use an application, that will basically log all the Bluetooth communication for you, right? So it's pretty cool. So once you have this log file, you can use this tool called Wireshark, and then you can inspect all the packets that are in the application, right? So you could go like step by step and then see what commands were sent. So since I already had an original app for the drone that had the firing functionality, I did this. I set up like a test instruction. So I connected the device, and I called fire, fire. Then I made it take off, land, fire 3 times, take off and land. Okay? And since I already knew the commands for takeoff and land, which is basically, it's kind of divided into 2 parts. There's always the prefix. Every time we send a command, it will always be 4. There's like an incremental number and 2. And after that, there's an actual command. You remember when I was sending the 010 to takeoff. That's the thing. So having known that already, I could do this. I exported my log into Wireshark, sorted it all by the characteristic ID, so I was only looking for the characteristic that was sending instructions, right, sending the orders. And then I was able to find the takeoff and land characteristic. And you remember, I did like a fire 3 times in between a takeoff and land, and there we are, there's 3 commands that we're interested. And there's as well 2 identical ones just before takeoff and land. So, hey, that's pretty much our fire instruction. So I could take this, and that's like a hexadecimal value, and I could actually turn it into a function in my service. So basically, that's how I was able to reverse engineer the original app so that we could run it in Angular. Pretty cool, right? So adding a cannon to the drone, having MIPS running around, could result only in one outcome: the unconditional surrender of the squirrels. So the squirrels are nicely behaved now, and then they cooperate with us, and they do the cute things. They just eat peanuts. They don't throw them at allergic people. So my summary. So using Bluetooth is fun, and it's quite easy once you know the commands that you want to use. If you want to see a couple of examples that I was talking about, you can go to NPM, search for any of these 3. Also, you should use native script when you want to have a native Android or iOS application and connect to multiple devices. Or use web Bluetooth if you want to use Chrome on Mac, Windows, or Android. And I think it's iOS as well. There's just the caveat is on 1 device at a time. And if you want to use observables, you could actually use Wasim's Angular Web Bluetooth, which is pretty cool. So that allows you to actually cancel some of the things that you want to listen to. And then finally, reverse engineering can be tricky sometimes, but if you use HCI Snoop log and Wireshark, that can be quite helpful. And There's some other things that you could be trying for more advanced scenario, like you could maybe export the log file and try to match for the patterns of the commands that you're looking for. So you could say, like, go and find 5 identical commands, and that's how you could figure out. Or there's a tool I'm working on which allows you to actually import the Wireshark log and then run it step by step so you can actually see what's happening. So that's pretty much me, and thank you for listening.